Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Football.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Inside Arkansas Football pregame show presented by BetSaracen, the #1 sports betting app in the state of Arkansas. I'm Andrew Ellis. I'm joined by Curtis Wilkerson, and we got a big game on our hands, folks. 11 a.m., the Arkansas Razorbacks in the Liberty Bowl, the Simmons Bank Liberty Bowl, to take on Memphis. Familiar territory, an opponent that, Arkansas doesn't see too often. We don't get to see this all the time. We've been clamoring for it in basketball. We're getting it in an exhibition. Not a ton of distance between these two teams. These programs are in, weirdly enough, different spots where Memphis, I think, feels great about themselves as a program. The Hogs, this is a big can't-lose situation here. I'm excited for this game, Curtis. I don't know about you. I don't know about our fans here. But how are you doing on this beautiful Saturday morning?
I'm doing great, man. I'm really excited for this game. I've got my big red Razorback speaker hooked up and looking forward to having it blaring. This has been kind of a weird week, right? Like you had the unfortunate loss against Ole Miss, and I'm glad that we've turned the page from that. And so is the team, I'm sure. But there were some lingering effects from that. And then you had all the weirdness with Hunter Yurachek and his comments. Is this team positioned to compete? Are they not? What type of message is that sending to these guys? We've done all these big picture conversations about the program in general and all that. I don't know about you, man. I'm just ready for some football. And I have really enjoyed watching this team play, as frustrating as last week was. But yeah, this is really interesting. You mentioned the dynamic here. This is a Memphis program who has been really good over the course of last year, double-digit wins over the course of the last 2 seasons. They're off to a 3-0 start. They're looking at this and they're saying, okay, a group of 5 team is going to make the college football playoff. Notre Dame's already taken a couple losses. South Florida was rolling. They just took an L. Here we are undefeated. We've got an SEC team coming into our house. Big spot for Memphis. And then Arkansas on the flip side, how do you bounce back? Like you've had, a lot of things have gone well for the Razorbacks in the first couple of weeks of the season. Everything during camp is all sunshine and rainbows. Well, now you've been hit with a little bit of adversity, and this is where you really find out a lot about a team in terms of how they respond, pick themselves up, and go back out and get to work. And it's going to be a really interesting game. 11 a.m., that's kind of weird, whatever, but I'm excited for some football, man. I'm looking forward to this one.
I could not agree more in terms of just being tired of having these big picture conversations. I get it. It's what we do for a living. It's not lost on me why we're having these conversations. And when your athletic director comes out and speaks about the capabilities of the program, we have to have these conversations. But I'm with you, man, where I'm just ready to watch some football. I'm ready to see the game. I'm ready to see how this Razorback team bounces back. Because like you said, first time they've been punched in the mouth, first time they've had any adversity all year, first time that opportunity to quit, that door has been cracked open. I don't anticipate them to do that. I hope the team has that same type of mentality where they're like, listen, man, we lose a game. That's a tough game. We got to make our corrections. But I don't need to hear all this, what I can and can't do, and is my head coach going to get fired, and is my defensive coordinator going to get fired, and what's going on here? I just want to play football. And so I hope the Razorbacks have a similar mentality. And so we're going to break down every aspect of this game. We're going to make our predictions, of course. We're going to get into our challenges where we're going to challenge specific Razorbacks or maybe position groups. We're also going to talk about our bold predictions. We will also get into some of our prop plays that we like over at BetSaracen. But before we do that, I want to tell you about what should be your new game day spot to watch the Razorbacks, and that's Goat Lab Red in Fayetteville, the place for Razorback pre- and post-game. Stop by Oak Plaza on North Garland and get you some of the best brews and burgers around. Sip on signature Goat Lab brews like Razorback, which Dudley was showing off on the show yesterday, Tusk and Tusk Light. Grab a signature burger today, then come back Sunday for all-you-can-eat pancakes with your choice of 2 Goat Lab brews or 2 mimosas for just $16. Goat Lab Red, your new game day tradition, and what should definitely be your new Sunday tradition. Love that spot. Love all that they do for us. Really excited about that partnership there. So, Curtis, just a refresher for the fans that this is their first pregame show. They don't know how we get down here. We like to do this thing where we challenge specific Razorbacks, and that can be for a various reasons of maybe we just feel like this guy needs to play better. Maybe it's a guy that we hold to a very high standard, like a Talon Green. We've challenged him time and time again, and he's answered the challenge a lot this year. Or maybe we feel like in a specific matchup, this position group really needs to show up. There are all sorts of reasons, and then we like to look back afterwards to see if that person, place, or thing, if they stepped up to the challenge. I'm going to toss it to you first, Curtis. Who do you have your eye on in this matchup for Arkansas-Memphis that you feel like really needs to step up here?
Yeah, this is interesting because a lot of times when we do this, I immediately start thinking offense, because it's such a stat-driven side of the football. You mentioned Taylor Green, and we've done all that in terms of, okay, is he going to really take that next step? Be that guy, go have a great performance on the road at Ole Miss, all that. Mike Washington, a guy who we've heard so much about, and what is he all about? Live up to the hype, my man. And which of these receivers are going to step up? Like, we've done all that, and all that's still valid. But I have to go to the defensive side of the football, and I've got a couple here. I'll just share one right now, because that's where the improvement has to be had, right? I mean, it's hard to think otherwise here after what happened last week. I think about the secondary and everything that went on with all the passing yards you gave up to Chambliss and some of the breakdowns you had on the back end there. I'm going to issue a challenge to one Larry Worth. And my thought process here is, you're an athletic and just a physical specimen. We've heard so much about he's 6'4" and he's 225 pounds and he jumps higher and runs faster and is stronger than everybody else out there. And you were the talk of camp for all the strides that you've made, in your second year with the program, the leader of the secondary. Could he be a potential LSEC type of guy? His PFF grade at least has steadily declined in all 3 weeks here that Arkansas has played. He also had a couple plays that stood out to me last week where it was either questionable effort or poor awareness, things you wouldn't expect from a guy that you're really leaning on there, the back line of defense for you. So my thought process is you need Larry Worth not to just be reliable, but you kind of need him to be a playmaker in that secondary for you. You need him to be a little bit of a shop wrecker back there. So I am challenging Larry Worth to make his presence known, whether that's with a wow play in this game, like an interception or a forced fumble or a momentum hit, a TFL, something like that. But also to up that production, somebody has to jolt this secondary, Andrew, and it's time for Larry Worth to look like Tarzan and also play like him, in my opinion.
I like that. Safety is a weird position where if all goes well with your defense, your safety shouldn't be having to make 12 tackles, or he shouldn't be having to help over the top on all these deep shots that are being taken against you. And so sometimes it's easy for us to kind of forget about those secondaries. And I think for Arkansas, when we talk about this defense, secondary is not a position we talk about a ton for a lot of those reasons you just laid out. That Larry Wirt's a guy that we've seen before. We have some confidence in him. There's really not much for us to discuss. I think the same could be said for Miguel Mitchell. The same could be said for Caleb Wooden, a guy that's played in the SEC a little bit. So I like that call to make their presence felt a little bit. Like, don't just be back there hanging out, keeping everything in front of you. Like, go up there and make a play. Let us notice you. Show us your worth. I like that, Curtis. I'm going to stick with the defense for just a second here. And now we're doing 2 each, right? We determined that.
Yep.
I'm doing 2 each, but these I'm listing 2 players that these do not count as 2 picks. Okay. This is 1 pick because they play the same position, and they're very similar in terms of the way we view them. Xavier Sori and Steven Dix. Those are 2 young gentlemen who we talk about issues that we don't talk about. We did not spend all of fall camp, Curtis, dissecting, hey, how is Arkansas going to be at linebacker? We all felt pretty confident they're going to be okay at linebacker. They've got a guy in Xavier Sori who it was a huge deal when he announced he was coming back to Arkansas because we thought he might want to test the NFL waters, thought he might have a chance there. Steven Dix, kind of a similar thing. You want to talk about looking like Tarzan. Steven Dix looks like Tarzan. He looks like Megatron, man. He looks like he looks like an absolute unit. Those are 2 guys that have a lot of experience, a lot of production to their name as well. And I feel like they are kind of the keys to this Razorback defense. And when we talk about the deficiencies, maybe up front, we say, yeah, but the linebackers should be able to make up some of that. And, the secondary is not great, but, teams shouldn't be running the ball on them with these linebackers. I think they need to step up, one, for a lot of those same reasons. When your defense sucks, it might not be your fault. It might not be Xavier Sori and Steven Dix's fault, but if you're the captains, you're the guys that are setting the tone, we need to know that you're setting that tone and really being the catalyst this defense needs. I also think in this particular matchup against Memphis, this is a very different offense than Ole Miss. Ole Miss will take deep shots on you. They will attack your secondary. They are looking for weaknesses on the edges and down the field. That's what they do. That's what they specialize at. And we saw them do that against Arkansas. And so that's certainly an area of concern. This Memphis team, there's not a ton of smoke and mirrors. There's not a ton of, question about what they want to do. They want to run the ball between the tackles, right up the middle, right at your face. And of course, Arkansas's D-line, which has its own set of issues, they're going to need to be solid in this matchup. I want to see both of these linebackers with how much Memphis is probably going to test that run game. Also, Brandon Lewis, the quarterback, you got to keep an eye on him. A lot of times if you have an athletic quarterback, it falls on those linebackers to be that QB spy, to kind of mitigate that advantage in the matchup. I'm looking at these two linebackers. I think with the way this offense operates, this should be a game where those two guys are at the top of the stat sheet with 14, 12 tackles apiece, something like that. I want to see them. I want to hear their names early and often. I don't want to have any questions about whether or not Xavier Sawyer or Steven Dix were in this game. I want their presence to be felt. They have to set that tone of physicality for this Razorback defense. Who is your next challenge, Curtis?
I will, just to piggyback on what you said for just a second. It seems like we're both identifying playmakers on defense, guys who need to step up and make some plays for this team. I love the call out there of the linebackers. Zone read discipline in this game is going to be so important. You mentioned the dynamic there, but that's a pretty good 1-2 punch that Memphis has with the running back in Sutton Smith, and then Brandon Lewis is the mobile quarterback there. We have seen Arkansas struggle with things like this in the past. So I'm going to be fascinated to see what that looks like. I think there's a really good challenge on your part. You mentioned the defensive line a little bit in passing there. I'm going to go with the defensive lineman here. I'm going to issue a challenge. I'm going to go a little bit against the grain, but to David Oki. And I am simply challenging him and maybe the training staff to double his snap count after making his debut last week. Nothing crazy. I'm not asking for 3 TFLs or anything like that, but can we get him from 8 snaps to 15 plus and really start working him into a legitimate piece in that rotation for Arkansas? Because, if you combine the snaps, Andrew, between Ian Jaffard and Danny Saili, you get 179 total between the two of them. Cam Ball has taken 162 himself. So he is damn near equaled the other two guys in your rotation combined. That's way too many snaps for Cam Ball, a guy who was hurt the entire offseason, was hurt during camp. The last thing you want to do is wear that man down, because he's your saving grace right there on the defensive line on the interior. So in my opinion, and also, by the way, like outside of, like Keyshawn Blackstock has been like an out of necessity series here and there type of guy. And, a couple ends I know have rotated inside a little bit. So that happens, but you are absolutely wearing Cam Ball out, and it's not sustainable. So can we pick up, David Oki's contributions and have him productive enough to turn Cam Ball's 65 snaps a game to 45 to 50? Maybe that's what I'm looking for here.
Yeah, and we did see in those 8 snaps that David Oki played, we did see him make a play in the line, behind the line of scrimmage. Good to see him out there. Good to notice him, honestly. That's what we want to see out of this defensive line that is lacking in depth a little bit. I'm sure some people probably think it's weird that you're begging for 15 snaps out of David Oki. That would make a huge difference. You mentioned Cam Ball, like you're playing 66 snaps versus maybe 50 snaps. Still not ideal, but it's like that's a big deal. That big extra series you can take off might have Cam Ball a little bit ready for that fourth quarter. And then who knows, if David Oki's really playing well, you might finish the game with Cam Ball and David Oki there on the defensive line. I think it's very telling that we have issued a combined, 3 challenges so far, but 4 players, all of them have been defensive players. I think it kind of tells you what the situation is and how we view this Arkansas offense versus maybe how we view this Arkansas defense and who needs to step up. But I am going to go to the offensive side of the football. We can't be
I was
all
hoping
defense.
You would.
Yeah, I am. We got to go to the offensive side of the football. My challenge, this is an open-ended one. This is a King Arthur type of challenge of like anyone come pick up this sword. Any wide receiver not named Omega Blake. I am calling for anyone. And by the way, I'm not saying that these guys outside of Omega Blake have been bad. I've been pleased with some of the moments I've seen. C.J. Brown is really who I have in mind, but I'm okay with it not being. It doesn't have to be C.J. Brown. I want us to leave this game, Curtis, and view the wide receiver room as a positive, but also I want us to view that it's not just Omega Blake and then a few guys that are okay. I want to come away from this game and somebody make some plays in this game that really makes me think, oh, they've maybe found something here. Oh, 5 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown from C.J. Brown. Wow, he's really starting to come on as a sophomore. I want to be having a conversation like that, and it can be Raylan Sharp. Hell, it could be Cam Shanks in the slot making some things work. It could be Jaylen Brown, who needs to, obviously is going to be very motivated after the final play he played on last week's game. I would love to see him bounce back. He's a guy that has the speed to take the top off of defense. Anybody, open challenge, any receiver not named Omega Blake, I want to see you step up and change the way that we view this Razorback offense. And again, as much as we are focusing on the defense for a lot of very justified reasons, everything that we think about this matchup in this game, and honestly this season moving forward, is contingent on the Arkansas offense being very good. They have been very good every single game to this point. I don't expect that to change anytime soon, but I'd feel a little bit better if you had one more receiver that you could really count on.
So is this like last year when we were saying somebody besides Andrew Armstrong, please? Yes. And we're like, all right, who knew Isaac Tesla was going to be NFL Rookie of the Year or whatever? But I agree with you, man. I would love to see that. I love the Jaylen Brown idea of just having a bounce back. He played a pretty good game on Saturday up until that one play. I know he took that really hard, right, as you should. It shows you care. That's a tough play. Cost your team, even though you can point to a million different plays. I would love to see like a Jaylen Brown touchdown in this game. That would make me feel good on the inside. But you mentioned two guys there in Raylan Sharp and Cam Shanks, two guys that we heard quite a bit about throughout the course of the spring. And we were thinking that these are going to be two guys who maybe they weren't 1,000-yard receivers or whatever, but they were probably going to catch a lot of footballs underneath, be the guys that you can kind of dink and dunk with a little bit. And they've had their moments here and there, but I sign me up for a little bit of like a Raylan Sharp breakout game. Like, oh yeah, he is that guy. I would like to see that. I think that's a good call right there.
Absolutely. Really, I just want this offense to, by the way, there's a lot you can count on with this Arkansas offense. We know what to expect from Taylor Green. We know what set of skills he brings to every game. Even Mike Washington, who, is very explosive, has had some good moments, outside of the one big run last week, didn't do a whole lot. We know what he brings to the table. Braylon Russell, we know what he brings to the table. We of course know what Omega Blake can bring. I just want to know there's one more person we can definitively count on in this Razorback offense, and I think we can count on this offensive line being pretty good. You want to know what else I can count on, Curtis? I can count on OZK Insurance. Nobody wants to deal with the hassle of shopping around, and that's why I use and recommend OZK Insurance. They're based right here in Arkansas, and they shop multiple carriers to find the best coverage and prices for you, whether it's home, auto, business, you name it. Whether it's Saturdays at Razorback Stadium or your everyday life, you want protection you can count on, and you can count on OZK Insurance. Don't take my word for it. They've got over 600 5-star Google reviews. You can count on OZK Insurance and get a free online quote at ozkinsurance.com or call 479-715-4200. OZK, protection made simple. So we talked a lot about, who we feel like needs to step up. This is our time to get a little frisky, get a little greedy. Curtis, this is our time for our bold predictions, and we hold ourselves accountable. So if you think that what we say here in these next 10 minutes is crazy, you will have your chance to make fun of us later on when we do our post-game accountability session. But I want to go to you first, Curtis. What is your bold prediction coming out of this game here?
Okay. Yeah. I've got a couple here. And the first one, these are more team oriented things for me, because I think that this is an interesting spot that Arkansas finds themselves in here. And I've talked about this being kind of the overcorrection type of game I could see for Arkansas. Arkansas's defense was like John Chavis-esque last week. And then you have this Memphis team who has scored 20 or more points in 43 straight games. That's the longest streak in the nation, right? And so Arkansas, they're holding them behind. They're holding them below that Saturday. They're just going to do it. I think that Memphis is going to have some success moving the football, but I also think that they're going to force the issue, trying to establish the run as opposed to consistently, testing the back end of the defense there. I think that, they will try and let the air out of the football a little bit, shorten the game. That's their pathway, in my opinion, to pulling off an upset here, and especially if the game is tight. And I think Arkansas gets a mistake or two out of them, gets a couple turnovers. I think that they're going to keep Memphis under that 20-point total in this football game. And if you don't think that's bold, well, nobody's done it in like 4 years.
And I think people will think that is bold. So much so, Curtis, I was fully prepared to steal that. Ever since you said that stat, I don't know what show that was this week, whether that was Thursday or Friday, I have been prepared to steal that. If you didn't make that your bold prediction, Curtis, I'm not kidding. I was going to make that my bold prediction.
Can we call this like
that.
this has got to be like a special thing then, like our double down bold prediction. Like we might have to issue an apology or something if it doesn't go well, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing. Now, hey, if Arkansas wins 42-24, don't come to the post-game accountability session and be like, you idiots, you thought they'd get under 20. They scored 24. It's like, no, don't do that. If Memphis scores 45, fair enough. We will gladly wear that one, and we will tell you to your face, we are morons. We will say that. But I'm with you, Curtis, in that I just look at this matchup, and listen, Arkansas played very poorly last week against Ole Miss defensively. So I understand why people would say, yeah, their defense is a question mark. Memphis is going to be able to exploit that. Sure. In theory, sure. I just look at the matchup, Curtis, and I just think this is a much easier, much simpler matchup. And by the way, Memphis is the team. I've watched them a lot in the first 3 weeks. They are very disciplined. They are very solid at what they do. It's a lot of meat and potatoes offensively. They don't do all these weird motions and, we're going to come out in 5 wide here and then we're going to go to 12 personnel. They don't do a ton of crazy creative stuff. It's more of like, hey, here's our fastball. Can you hit it? And their fastball is a lot of between the tackles running. I don't think there's any misconception about what they're going to do offensively. If Arkansas, and I will go ahead and say this, if Arkansas is not prepared for this matchup schematically, like they're like, oh man, we just didn't expect them to run the ball up the middle at us, like that. You don't really have that against Lane Kiffin when you have an offense that's running tempo and they're changing formations and they're changing plays to the line of scrimmage and you're trying to make adjustments. I can understand why you would say, oh man, we were kind of behind the 8 ball. We didn't understand. That's not really the case in this matchup. Now, that's not to say that Memphis can't have a lot of success. They can. They're very disciplined. They do what they do very well. I think Arkansas is going to be prepared for that run game. And I think what we've seen in years past with Travis Williams, and this is, again, we can talk about how we feel about him overall. When teams are able to keep Travis Williams guessing, they can do a lot of damage. When Travis Williams knows what you're doing, he can prepare for it pretty well. We even saw that in the Tennessee game last year. Like, if he knows what you're doing, they can actually come up with some answers. I don't know what Arkansas is going to do to come up with those answers in the run game, but I am going to say that they do that. And my bold prediction, I'm co-signing the 20-point one. I'm saying that Memphis is going to finish with fewer than 3.5 yards per carry on the ground. I do not think they are going to consistently be able to turn around, hand the ball off, and pick up yardage against Arkansas. I think Arkansas is going to sell out to stop the run and force Brandon Lewis, who has 2 touchdowns through the air on the year. I think they're going to force him to beat him. We'll see if he does, but I do not think Arkansas is going to budge much in the run game. I have them going under 3.5 yards per carry. And by the way, Memphis has run the ball for more than 200 yards in each of their first 3 games. They're averaging just around 5.5 yards per carry. I think they ran it for 7 yards per carry in week 1. This is a bold prediction, and I think Arkansas kind of shuts down the run game of Memphis, if I'm being honest.
I'm gonna add something to this here that will further your point, because I think I tend to agree, man. And you're 100% right. Memphis they are a very well coached football team. They're very disciplined. They run their stuff. They make the right reads. They're fun to watch from that standpoint. So Arkansas is gonna have to match that discipline. They're gonna have to be locked in, focused, all those things. But the biggest argument in the history of man is whether or not size matters. And I'll let somebody else decide, how they feel about that. I just don't know that I see Memphis pushing Arkansas around in the trenches, even though I don't think Arkansas's defensive line is very good. I think we all understand that. But I look at the starting offensive line for Memphis, and they run 277, 326. That's a big boy. 293, 270, and then 315. So you got 3 guys on this offensive line under 300 pounds and a couple guys that are, 270, 277. They're not that much bigger than me. And so I understand there are different ways to play, and it's a G5 team and everything like that. We can talk all day long about, Arkansas's lack of production on the defensive line and the lack of depth on the interior and everything like that. But when I think about it, I don't know, 270-pound right guard against a 390-pound defensive tackle and Ian Jaffard, that's got to mean something here. So I would think that Arkansas should be able to have a level of success in bottling things up and eliminating some of those gaps, because I can't remember who it was that was talking about the Sutton Smith kid who has been very, very good for him, but they've been paving holes for him, and he's had some explosive runs. He doesn't get a whole hell of a lot after contact. And, so we'll see what this looks like here. But when I look at, just the disparity in weight alone, there was something that stood out to me quite a bit.
That's very interesting, and I hadn't looked at their weight. I'm into that. You've sold me effectively on that.
Okay.
And I think that big picture, we agree in a vacuum here. It's not that we are saying, guys, that Arkansas has cleaned up all their defensive issues, and we buy the narrative that all it took was some communication, and now we're the power of friendship. We are now a good defense. I am not predicting for you that Arkansas's D-line is going to hold up throughout SEC play. I'm not predicting for you that other teams and other quarterbacks are not going to pick apart this Razorback secondary. I have very serious questions about if Memphis schematically, do they have the dynamic offense? Do they have enough explosion? Will they be able to create that in the run game? And you don't necessarily need to have it. If you're getting 5-6 yards a carry, you don't need that explosion. I'm skeptical, and so I'm kind of challenging, I guess, giving Memphis some bulletin board material that they're going to put up as they're getting ready to go out there and take the field here in this game. Well, Curtis, do you have any other bold predictions that you've given your two, right?
Well, I gave the
not
one,
really, right? You only give the one.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that I furthered your point because I really think that you're onto something there. My other one is pretty simple, and we talked about this a little bit on Friday's Inside Arkansas Live, but I see Josh Pate making a Memphis cover his best bet of the week or whatever, and Brett McMurphy was really concerned about Arkansas in this spot, and he didn't pick Memphis to win, but did the same thing. It's going to be close, like a Memphis cover here. I'm just not seeing it. I think Arkansas has a distinct advantage in this matchup. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, as risky as it may be, that they're going to come ready to play and not be a sloppy mess out there at 11 a.m. on the road. Whatever the final line is, whether it's 7.5 like it is right now or wherever it winds up, double it and take Arkansas to cover it. That's where I'm at with this football game. And I don't even know how bold that is, but Vegas sets the line. So I'm saying Arkansas is going to win by at least twice as much as whatever that winds up being.
That's another just tremendous bold prediction, and one that I'm going to co-sign as well. I'm stealing that one as well, Curtis. I'm taking that one. But also, we're going to make our final score predictions here in a second, so I'm not lying. Like I was prepared to do that either way. I like that a lot, Curtis. I think we view this pretty similarly, and like you said, we're giving Arkansas a lot of benefit of the doubt, and I'm sure that's totally not going to be something that comes back to bite us in the arse here. But I want to get into some of our favorite bets for the game, Curtis. And so before we do that, of course, got to remind you, if you do not have a betting partner, if you are not already signed up at BetSaracen, now is the time to do it. You use this code right here on the screen. That will take you to the registration page. And if you use Inside AR on that registration page, you will get $125 in bonus bets by placing just one $25 bet. You place one $25 bet, you get 5 $25 bets in bonus bets. It's a deal you can't pass up. And seriously, BetSaracen is the #1 sports betting site in the state of Arkansas. That is not my opinion. That is an objective fact. The numbers are out there. So Curtis, I want to touch on some of these numbers here before we get into our double R props of like kind of, our player props that we always like to touch on. If you disagree, if you listen to the first 30 minutes of this show and you just think me and Curtis are way off base and you think this is going to be a shootout and you think this is going to be a 49-38 type of game here, there are a couple numbers that I think are worth noting here. One, if you think there's going to be 4+ touchdowns in each half, and that could be 4 Razorback touchdowns in each half, that could be 2-2, that could be 3-1, 4+ touchdowns in each half, plus 180. You can also get both teams to score in every quarter, plus 525. Both teams have to score in every quarter, touchdown and a field goal each, plus 525. If you think Arkansas is going to score 50, plus 650 for Arkansas to score 50. You can also bet on Arkansas to score 60. You can also bet on Arkansas to score 80. They have options over there at BetSaracen, some crazy ones. I think there was one that was like a touchdown and a field goal for both teams in every quarter. So like basically at minimum 40 points or whatever. That one was like plus 9,000 or something crazy like that. There's a lot you can make if you think this is going to be a shootout. But if you do agree with me and Curtis and you think, hey, I don't even think Memphis is going to score a touchdown, you can get that one at plus 2250. And now I'm tossing it to you, Curtis. Did you have any Saracen props, whether that be players or team specific, any props that caught your attention this week?
Dude, some of those that you just mentioned, I get really, really enticed by before every game. I am not getting sucked into that that money pit this time around. Yeah, especially if we're both pretty bullish about how we're not sold on this being a shootout like a lot of people think that it will be. So we'll see who's right and who's wrong here for sure. What was that last one you said? Memphis to not score a touchdown, plus 2250?
Plus 2250. Memphis, 0 tutties.
That might be going a little bit too far in terms of what I think Arkansas's defense is going to be able to do here. Maybe I haven't watched the right segments of Memphis games, but I've seen a little bit of all three. And I don't know, man. Like, I think Arkansas could be on some, but at that value, why not sprinkle a little bit? I might do something like that just for the hell of it. But I don't know that I'd necessarily promote it. And looking at some of the double R props there, I kind of go back to the well on some of them that I saw last week. Braylon Russell, for example, over 3.5 yards per carry and over 4.5 yards after catch. And if I read that correctly, it's over 3.5 per carry and just more than 4.5 yards after catch, like not per reception or whatever.
So you catch one screen for 5 yards, and then you average 4 yards a carry, you're good?
Right. Against Memphis, a G5 team, that's at plus 135. I kind of feel like that might be giving away money. So that's one that stood out to me for sure. The same one that I bet on last week, Rohan, over 1.5 catches and 21.5 receiving yards at plus 250. If you're going to give me that dude who's like your pass catching tight end, 2 catches and 22 yards at plus 250, I'm taking that every single week this season. Keep churning it out there, and I'm going to continue to bet on it.
I like that. You mentioned the Braylon Russell prop, and we did cash, by the way. We had a very good week on SARACEN last week in terms of what we said on this show and what ended up hitting. It's not going to be that way every week. I'm not saying this is a get-rich-quick scheme by any means, but we did have a lot of success last week. One of the bets that we did hit, which I got nervous about, it was like Braylon Russell. I think he needed to have 7 carries for 25 yards last week. They have upped it just slightly to where now it's Braylon Russell over 8.5 total rushing attempts, so 9 carries, over 29.5 net yards rushing. 9 carries, 30 yards for your RB2, who pretty much, I think he had like 9 for 40 last week or something like that. This bet would have hit last week against Ole Miss. I think if he gets 9 carries, he gets that, right? I mean, there's no way he's going to have 9 carries for 24 yards, right?
There has to be one play, one carry in this game for Braylon Russell where he just trucks somebody and runs for like 12 or 13. And then you're almost there. Even if you're under this, like my bet, if you're under 3.5 per carry the rest of the way, like you should be able to get that. If he gets the touches, and I think that he will in this game, I am a little bit surprised, I will say, and I think I didn't take into account, Andrew, how often they were going to run Taylon Green this year. But I have been a little bit surprised at the carry totals at times. Like, what was it? Last week was 11 and 9 or something like that. Between your two guys there. And I kind of thought those would be a little bit higher. So I get the higher we go with Braylon Russell's carries, the more I'm like, I
Once
don't know.
It goes over double digits, you're right. It's definitely going to be harder.
Right. But no, I do like that. He should be good for it. And again, like if I think this is going to be a little bit of an ass whooping, maybe not to the level at Arkansas State or whatever it was, but I could see a situation where Arkansas has got this thing under control. They're able to hand the football off in the fourth quarter, and you can rack up some yards with your boys.
I'm just telling you, and maybe I shouldn't say this will get me in trouble. If I were the play caller, Curtis, I would just have a hard time not taking a peek over at some of this stuff and being like, y'all don't think I'll give Braylon Russell the ball 9 times? Interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
Especially now, obviously, I have integrity, winning's above all, but like if it's 38-10 in the fourth quarter and Braylon Russell's got like 5 carries, I'm giving him the ball, man. I'm giving him the ball.
Series is yours, buddy. Yeah.
One thing that we've had a lot of success on betting this year, I would say maybe our most successful, I mentioned the running back props, but running back receiving props. Mike Washington has cashed his a lot. We had the one, I think that was opening weekend, where it was like yards after the catch or something like that, and he ended up cashing that one. Another Mike Washington one that I like this week, Mike Washington over 1.5 receptions, over 26.5 receiving yards. Last week, it was like Mike Washington targets, which he got. He had 2 catches that like both he ripped off for pretty big yardages. That is plus 300. So some decent value on that one. I like that one. The one that I have to I'm not even betting this one. I did bet it last week, and I made a lot of money betting it last week. They always do a like Taylon Green yardage, huge odds one. This week at plus 900 odds, that is 9-1 odds. You bet 5, you win whatever 9 times 5 is, 45. It's legit odds. Taylon Green, 314.5 passing yards and 99.5 rushing yards. He has cashed this a couple times now this year where he's had 100 yards rushing and he throws the ball over the place. That's a lot of yardage. It is a lot of yardage. But again, if you think this game is going to be high scoring and you think it's a shootout, I think Taylon Green gets that plus 900, though. So you do need to understand this is a long shot type of thing. How intrigued are you by that?
I'm very intrigued by it, man. And it's because even at times where I think Taylon's not even playing particularly well, he's just racking up the yards. And my biggest thing with Taylon Green on anything that comes to total yardage, like sometimes you can get me if it's like, a certain amount of touchdowns. I know he's been really good about that this year, but yardage wise, I'm always intrigued with Taylon, especially if it includes rushing yards, because it's 3rd and Taylon. And any 3rd and long situation, I just automatically feel like Arkansas is going to get it because Taylon Green's going to make a play. And you really rack them up when you're able to do that. And I think he's one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country, at converting these 3rd and long situations. So I'm always intrigued by him racking up a lot of yards. And yes, because I have a feeling that this might be just a little bit more of a slowed down game than Arkansas likes. They could also impose their will, and it could be the opposite. Or they get out in front early. There are a lot of different factors that go into that. But for me, I'm almost to the point where I'm like, man, Taylon just keeps doing stuff like this. At some point, he is going to have a more pedestrian game, right? Or is he really a Heisman Trophy type of guy here? And I know a lot of that factors into how your team performs and everything like that, but I'm talking like sheer production and stats. He leads the damn country in total yardage right now. And it's like, okay, is he just going to keep doing this every single week? Really? Or is he going to have a game where maybe not, or where they really lean on Mike Washington and Braylon Russell and just run it all over somebody? So it scares me a little bit, but like you said, it's a long shot, man, at plus 900, the way he's been balling out, and you're playing a G5 opponent. I don't know. Why not sprinkle a little bit on it? See what happens.
Yeah. And I think the thing to point out here that's obvious is that Taylon can play flawless football in this game and not wind up with 315 passing yards, because if he's playing flawless football, that means Arkansas has a pretty good lead and they're maybe not going to be airing things out. Yep. Although I will say this is very much a pass-first offense. If anyone tells you anything else, they are lying to you. This is an offense that is pass to set up the run and not the other way around. So they will be throwing the ball early and often. And so this next one, so that one obviously depends on this game being a little bit high scoring. There's also an Arkansas offense prop over 314.5 passing yards. So again, 315 through the air, and then just 150 rushing yards period as a team. Doesn't need to be Taylon or anyone else. I like that one. That one is at plus 325. So again, if you think this is a high scoring game back and forth, you probably should invest in a couple of these. Another one that is going to be a little bit dependent on the game situation. Omega Blake, over 6.5 receptions, over 79.5 yards. That's more or less exactly what he averages for the year. He's pretty good for 6 to 7 receptions, 90 to 100 yards. So, if you think he's going to just continue doing exactly what he does pretty much every week, and you think Arkansas is going to throw enough, that's plus 275. I like that one. Last receiver one I'll give before I give my favorite bet of the week, my favorite prop. Okay. CJ Brown, 0.5 receiving touchdowns. He's got to catch one, and then over 12.5 yards per reception. So this could literally be 1 30-yard touchdown, call it a day. Maybe he'll catch the touchdown and then catch the passes later to maybe make it weird. I don't know. I like this one. I would love to see C.J. Brown get back in the end zone. I think over 12.5 yards per reception shouldn't be too hard to make happen. But, Curtis, are you ready? I want to give a shout-out to our guy Logan, who texted me about this one to kind of just check on this one. It's my favorite prop play of the game, and it is plus 200. Devin Bale, over 2.5 punts, so he does have to punt 3 times, which may or may not happen, and he just has to have a longest punt of 50-plus yards.
It's easy.
One punt for 50 yards, punt 3 times. I love it. Plus 200. Now, this is the real Devin Bale, not the video game Devin Bale that has struggled. Why would Devin Bale not hit that one other than if you just think Arkansas is not going to punt 3 times?
I like that. No, that's a solid one there. And it could be one nice defensive possession by Memphis in each half, and then one, bad throw on third down by Taylor Green or something. You know what I mean? Like there are ways to get to, because it's crazy that we're looking at with this offense going, Arkansas punting 3 times against somebody. No way. But it's not crazy. And yeah, he's good for it, man. He's got a boot on him. I believe in Devin Bell.
The important part is that he has to punt from his own side of the field. If he's punting from obviously past the 50, you literally cannot have a 50-yard punt. But he's got to have a punt that's own 34, one where you're just like, there's no angling, there's no trying to kick it out, you're just booting it. He'll get that over 50 yards, and then we're all good. Did you have any other prop plays that you liked before we move on to our score predictions?
No, not really, but I did just want to throw out, you were speaking on Omega Blake and his situation a little bit earlier. So I just went back and looked at last year with Charlotte in that game against Memphis. Omega Blake had 3 receptions for 128 yards. And that is why, my friends, he led the country in yards per reception. But he had a long of 57. He had a touchdown in that game. I think Memphis has like 10 new starters on defense or whatever, but he has had production against that team in the past, and it was at Memphis. So he knows how to ball out in that stadium. So you like Omega Blake, roll with it.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, pretty good yards per reception ratio there. I like that one a good bit. Well, we're going to make our score predictions, kind of give our final thoughts for the game, and then let you guys enjoy this beautiful Saturday. But before we do that, of course, I want to talk about Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas. We're getting closer and closer to holiday season. Halloween is just around the corner. Curtis actually just got his lights set up yesterday, so don't feel any shame about getting them set up early. I know a lot of you love getting into the holiday spirit, but you might not have the time or resources. Luckily for you, Walter Christmas Lighting has you covered this fall and winter. If you're in Northwest Arkansas or the River Valley, have Walter Christmas Lighting set up and install your house with professional Halloween and Christmas lighting like you've never seen before. They'll provide all the materials, any color, any pattern. They install the lights. They will take it down for you in January, and they'll offer free maintenance throughout the holiday season, which is very clutch. If you sign up for your Halloween lights, you will also get your Christmas lights for 50% off. Text our guy, Brett, who Curtis was hanging out with yesterday, for a free estimate at 479-459-1380. You can also check out their website at walterchristmaslighting.com or like them on Facebook by scanning the QR code on your screen right now. It's Walter Christmas Lighting of Arkansas, your holiday lighting experts. So Curtis, I'm going to go first here since I've let you go first and you've stolen all the good takes. I have to go first here just so people know I'm not a complete follower. So when the Arkansas State game rolled around, my bold prediction for that game was that Arkansas would not allow a touchdown in the red zone. I saw Arkansas bending but not breaking a lot in that game. And it didn't quite work out that way. They did score a touchdown in the red zone because of a penalty that extended the drive. But I see this as the ultimate bend but don't break game for Arkansas. I don't think Memphis has the explosion to really quick strike, have cover 80 yards in 3 or 4 plays. I think they are going to have to kind of nickel and dime and run their way down the field. And I think they're going to have some success doing that. I don't think they're going to get into the end zone. So I have them kicking 3 field goals and then Arkansas pulling away late. I have this final score 31-16, a little bit more low scoring than people are expecting. That'd be 47 total points, 31 points for the Arkansas offense. That would be considered a bad day. I think Arkansas is going to be in complete control of this game, and it's going to be a 31-16 that we look at and we say, they could have maybe made that one a little bit worse.
I like that. I respect that. And yeah, I've kind of already gave my spiel on how I think Arkansas is going to perform defensively and hold Memphis under 20 points for the first time in however many years, whatever that looks like. Now, I kind of view this as the overcorrection game where I think the defense is a better matchup for them for starters, but this is also an opportunity for them to correct some things and rebuild some confidence there. And I think they will do that. On the flip side, I don't expect Arkansas's offense, as fun as they've been to watch all season and as improved as they are with, whether it's Talon, the offensive line, whatever, I can't sit here and think that they're going to score 50 points in every single football game this season, as good as they've been. So I think there's going to be some regression to the mean from that standpoint as well. Maybe they come out a little bit sluggish early in this game in the first quarter and you have a 3 and out or 2, whatever, before they really get things going. Maybe, a little bit of unfocus or a tip ball or whatever. Maybe Arkansas has a turnover or two throughout the course of this football game. But I think that it's going to be a situation where, not that Memphis is slowing down Arkansas's offense, but they take advantage of some things early or a couple opportunities there to keep Arkansas from really running this thing up on the scoreboard. I still think the Razorbacks are going to win comfortably. Like I said, take whatever that final line is and double it, and I'll take Arkansas to cover that. I've got this as a 38-17 win for the Razorbacks on the road to restore a little bit of good faith in Sam Pittman and the boys.
I like that, man. I like that. It's weird. I feel like and it's weird to say this, I am relieved to see how many national people are siding with Memphis. Because I think the biggest danger spot in sports is when we all feel one way and we can't see any path to the alternative happening. That's when you get into a danger spot, and that's when the most heartbreaking losses happen. I mean, hell, none of us thought we were going to watch Arkansas lose to Colorado State. We didn't think we were going to watch Arkansas lose to San Jose State or whoever it is. And I'm not saying this is a different situation, different Razorback team. I just always get nervous when everyone gravitates to one side. And I felt like that happened last week, Curtis. I felt like Arkansas got so much respect nationally. Everyone in the state, of course, was confident. You even had Ole Miss fans telling John, I don't know, man, I just don't like this matchup. It was like in sports, it's not that simple of when people think one thing's going to happen, the other happens. But in gambling, it really does kind of work that way sometimes. And so you saw the line move from 10 to 3.5 by kickoff. That's like unprecedented levels of line movement. Arkansas won't have a line move that much all year. I'm actually pleased that this line opened at 6.5, 7, and it's finishing at 6.5, 7, 7.5. It's right around there. People think Arkansas is going to win. We are very comfortable in the matchup, but I love that I've seen some national guys picking Arkansas to struggle in this matchup because it just kind of throws them off the scent. I think it's always important to be aware of how things could turn out wrong. Like every time we make a prediction, we're not naive and stupid enough to think that our predictions are going to be right no matter what. Curtis and I both agree that this game is going to be controlled by Arkansas. We think they're the better team. We think on paper there's a little bit more than just one touchdown worth of separation there, and our scores reflect that. But make no mistake, like if Arkansas loses this game, it's not like I'm going to be completely stunned. It would just take Arkansas underachieving, and that's how I view this matchup. If Arkansas loses this game, it's because they're not prepared. It's because they weren't, they didn't come out ready to play. I don't have to travel. Like, there are things that can happen. I am not accepting any of those as valid excuses. And I think if Arkansas loses this game, you guys, the fans, should be absolutely livid. I know I'm going to be embarrassed. I'm going to be annoyed that you guys made me look like idiots when I finally give you some faith and give you some support there. And so I'm not here to say that, like, hey, there's no way Arkansas loses. But in my opinion, I just feel like Arkansas losing would mean they came completely unprepared and did not play anywhere near their best brand of football.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there. And I'm not there with this football team yet. I'm not, one loss is frustrating because I don't want us to lose the plot here with this Razorback football team, because last weekend was very, very frustrating, man, that you've just seen that script play out over and over and over. You snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory, all that stuff, right? That's all true, but they didn't get their doors blown off. It wasn't like last year against Ole Miss where it was a complete blowout and an embarrassment and everything. It was just one of those classic, hog's going to hog, whatever the hell you want to call it, type of games. I don't think that they're as near of like falling off of a cliff with this season as maybe some people felt after that game, because they were doing it's the same old damn thing and it's the same old damn Arkansas and nothing's changed. Right. And so that's why I feel that way. Now, to your point, you go out there and you look unprepared and you come out flat. And one thing I will say that kind of raised my eyebrow was Sam Pittman saying on Wednesday during the teleconference, he was like, yeah, you know what? We didn't really have a great practice on Tuesday and we really didn't finish as strong as we wanted to. So we're trying to tweak some things there to figure that out. I'm not crazy about hearing that, to be honest with you. I'm not crazy about hearing 3 games in the season that you feel like you've got to simplify a bunch of things defensively on a team that is not significantly more talented than the opponent on that end of the field. It's like there are some certain things there that kind of raise my eyebrow of like, okay, where is this headed? I don't think they're there yet, and I don't think Memphis is the team that's going to expose that. So I like Arkansas to bounce back here in this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like that a lot. You touched that last line you said about Memphis not being the team to expose it. is really just how I feel. It's
Right.
not that I don't think Arkansas is without weaknesses. They got plenty of them. We've talked about them in depth, and we've been critical at times, but I don't think in this particular matchup it's a big enough issue for me to think Arkansas loses this game. I also think there's something to be said about you've got Taylor Green, man. You got Taylor Green, you got a chance. That's what Sam Pittman likes to say. I view this game as we've got Taylor Green, and they don't. We have no freaking business losing this game. Taylor has earned all the respect he's gotten nationally. You got to go out there and win this game. You're a senior. You're year 2 under Bobby Petrino. You're in the Liberty Bowl where you've played before. Get the job done, man. I have no doubt.
This is the rubber match for Taylor Green in the Liberty Bowl. So this is huge for him, man.
Liberty Bowls.
He's trying to take the series, brother. Yeah. So.
I like that. Well, Curtis, man, I feel like we've broken it down. We've given our takes. We've given our predictions. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in, by the way. Don't forget, we will be keeping tabs on what you guys are saying in the chat. So if you have any last-minute comments to get in there about what you think is going to happen or any predictions you want to throw out there, we will hold you accountable in the accountability session after the game. And don't forget, we've got our post-game show. We've got our report card. We've got our accountability session. We've got our devotional. So don't just leave us for the day. We're going to be back here cooking and bringing you the content. But Curtis, do you have any words of wisdom to leave the Razorback Nation with as they enjoy their Saturday?
Well, I sincerely hope that you do enjoy your Saturday from about 11 a.m. through our post-game show. And if not, it's going to make for a spicy one in the aftermath. But no, we're excited about the game, excited about all the content that we have coming your way, and appreciate everybody for rocking with us this pregame show. It's something new that we've been doing this year, and we've really been enjoying it. And you guys make it worth continuing to do because you've been watching and interacting with it. And yeah, hop in for that post-game show. As soon as this game goes final, for better or worse, we go live and we're going to break it all down. It is an instant and live and raw reaction. So you're going to hear what we really think in the moment, and then we're going to hear it from you. And it's interactive and it's fun. So make sure you check it out.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Hope you had a great morning. Hope that coffee has woken you up. Hope we have woken you up. And let's have a great Woo Pig day. Does that sound like a plan? He's Curtis Wilkerson. I'm Andrew Ellis. We're Inside Arkansas. We will be back later today with the post-game show. Be sure to tune in. We're going to have a blast. Woo Damn Pig, Inside Arkansas to the Moon, all of that stuff. Subscribe, like, thumbs up, do what you got to do. Have a great